Hello students. As you know, in our entire process of nutrition, different steps are involved in which we studied ingestion, placing the food in the oral cavity. In the last 3 lectures, we discussed the mechanism of chemical digestion with the help of different enzymes in oral cavity, in stomach, as well as in the small intestine. When digestion process is over, end products are formed. You know the list of end product. Where are these end products? These end products are found in various region of your alimentary canal, which could be your oral cavity, which could be your stomach, and even you can say your small intestine, from where you will find the large intestine. So this is the structure of alimentary canal. Now remember the next step, the mechanism of absorption, a very important concept. In that they can ask you for 1 mark, define absorption. What is absorption? The process of movement of end products of digestion from alimentary canal to blood or lymph is called absorption. You know that our entire alimentary canal is supplied with blood vessel and lymph vessel. While discussing the wall of the alimentary canal, you know the wall of stomach, small intestine, large intestine, the wall of the alimentary canal is made up of 4 layers. Can you recall them? They are the outermost serosa, muscularis, submucosa, mucosa. In that, I told you submucosa, it is having blood vessels and lymph vessels. Hope you remember that. Remember, in the submucosa of our alimentary canal throughout, you will find the supply of blood vessel and lymph vessel. Okay, so what is absorption? The process of movement of end products of digestion from where? From alimentary canal to either blood or lymph. To blood or lymph is called absorption. So our mouth is supplied with blood vessel, stomach is supplied with blood vessel, large intestine as well as small intestine supplied with blood vessel. They are also supplied with another vessel called which one? Lymph vessel. From alimentary canal, the glucose, amino acids, etc. are added either to blood or lymph, right? As the glucose and amino acids formed in your small intestine cannot be transported by small intestine itself. Small intestine ತಾನಾಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ through a postman called blood or lymph, the end products are added to blood or lymph. Via blood, they are distributed to all parts of the body. Clear? Now the question is, where absorption occur? We know that small intestine is the principal site for both digestion as well as absorption. Why it is the principal site for digestion? Because we know that small intestine, in which we will find 3 types of digestive juices: bile juice, pancreatic juice, intestinal juice. Because of these 3, maximum digestion is seen in the small intestine. Hence it is the principal site for digestion. Question number 2. Why small intestine is considered a principal site for absorption? We know the answer. The reason is small intestine is provided with finger-like structures called what? Villi. What is the job of villi? Villi increases the surface area for absorption. As they have villi bear microvilli, the surface area for absorption will increase. Maximum absorption can be seen in the small intestine. Maximum means how much? 90% of absorption occur in the small intestine. Right? Remember, along with that, not only in the small intestine, you can find this absorption process even in your oral cavity, stomach, and in the large intestine. 90% of end product of digestion are absorbed in the small intestine, Along with small intestine, some food components or the end products of digestion are even absorbed in other regions of the alimentary canal like mouth, stomach and large intestine. If you observe in mouth, especially the lower surface of the mouth has mucosa membrane, the lower surface of the mouth to which some drugs, if they come in contact, the medicines what we take, some drugs which comes in contact with lower surface of the tongue or the oral cavity, the some drugs are absorbed in mouth. You will not find much absorption in the mouth. Now, the next site is the stomach. What are the things absorbed? In stomach, water is absorbed, simple sugars, some amount of glucose can be absorbed, and even alcohol. This is very important. The alcohol absorption, the person who consume the alcoholic beverages like the wine, whiskey, beer, whatever they say, right? If they consume that alcohol, the maximum alcohol absorption, remember, it occur in the where itself, stomach itself. Okay, the alcohol need not to go to small intestine. Okay, so anyhow, these three things are absorbed in the stomach. Small intestine, you know, you can add one line. 90% of absorption occurs here, in which the major glucose, fructose, fatty acid, glycerol, amino acid, phosphate group formed in the nucleic acid digestion, nitrogenous bases formed in the nucleic acid digestion, all absorption occur in the small intestine. Even water absorption also occurs here. If you go to large intestine, in which maximum water absorption occur where? Remember, in the large intestine. Maximum water absorption occur in the large intestine. Some minerals like Na+, Cl-, K+, calcium, etc. are absorbed along with few drugs. So they can ask you to write briefly. It is given in the NCERT that I have simplified it. I repeat for you once again. Along with small intestine, other regions of absorption are mouth, certain drugs, stomach, in which water, simple sugar, alcohol. In small intestine, glucose, fructose, galactose, fatty acid, glycerol, amino acid, water, nitrogenous bases maximum. Large intestine, water, some minerals and drugs. Now the next question arises. Wherever absorption may occur, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೂ absorb ಆಗಲಿ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ absorption ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅಲ್ವಾ, absorption ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ movement of these end products from these parts of the alimentary canal either to blood or to lymph. The question is, by which mechanism they are added? Okay, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೂ absorb ಆಗಲಿ, fine. By which mechanism they are added? The mechanism of absorption can either occur by diffusion, okay, osmosis, active transport, or by facilitated transport. ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಕೆನಾಲ್, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್ ಇಂದ ಬ್ಲಡ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೇಗೆ? Okay, that can either by diffusion, osmosis, active transport, or by facilitated transport. Now, by diffusion, small amount of glucose and amino acids are absorbed. It may occur in stomach, it may occur in small intestine. Small amount of glucose and amino acids are added to blood by diffusion. What is diffusion? Movement of glucose and amino acid from an area of its higher concentration from inside to its lower concentration, that is blood. Movement of glucose and amino acid from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. Even some electrolytes like chloride ions, Cl- is also absorbed by diffusion, whereas water absorption occur by osmosis. What is osmosis? Movement of water from an area of its higher concentration to an area of its lower concentration. Water absorption which occur in the stomach, Small intestine, large intestine, it occur by which mechanism? Osmosis, never by diffusion. Okay, whereas by active transport, what is active transport? It is the movement of some compounds or the elements from an area of lower concentration to higher concentration. Guys, what is diffusion? Movement of few things from higher concentration to lower. Okay, higher in the lower move ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿಯ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. Okay, now say for example I want to jump from high to lower, no need of much energy, but when I want to do it that reverse movement alwa mele jump ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ need little more energy, more effort. What is active transport? Movement from lower to higher against the concentration gradient. When there is active transport, there is usage of ATP, energy beku, no energy required for diffusion. But if you observe large amount of nodi illi small amount, but nama elementary canal alli large amount of glucose, amino acids, electrolytes, major thing which occur, it is not occurring by diffusion, it is occurring by active transport from lower concentration to higher concentration. For this, what is required? Energy is required. Whereas some large amount of fructose, right, fructose and some amount of amino acids, they are transported from alimentary canal to blood by a special method or a mechanism called sodium mediated active transport. With the help of sodium mediated active transport, or it is called co-transport, or it is called facilitated transport, there are some channels called sodium gated or sodium mediated channel. These channel with the help of sodium, okay, if you take out sodium, they cannot do the function. Ee ಒಂದು pump ಏನು ಇದೆ, a mediated pump, this pump requires sodium. When sodium binds, the pump activate. What this pump will do? This pump helps in pumping what? Absorbing fructose, absorbing some amino acid. Clear? I repeat it. Small amount of glucose and amino acids by diffusion, and even some amount of Cl minus. Water absorption by osmosis. Water absorption ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಸ್ಟಮಕ್, ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್. NCERT ಅವರು ಹೇಳುವ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಗೋ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು NCERT. ಇನ್ ಸ್ಟಮಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್, ವಾಟರ್ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಪ್ಷನ್ occurs by 1, 2, 3, 4. What is your answer? It is osmosis. Large amount of glucose, large amount of amino acid, large amount of electrolytes by active transport that require energy for the shifting of it. Okay, whereas sodium mediated active transport called co-transport, also called facilitated transport, underline, large amount of fructose will be absorbed. Fructose absorption occur by 1 mark question. Your answer is facilitated transport with the help of sodium mediated active transport, and some amount of amino acid can occur by this method. Dear students, try to understand. Amino acid absorption can either occur by diffusion, amount is very small, large amount of amino acid by active transport, some amount of amino acid by facilitated transport, small amount of glucose by diffusion, large amount of glucose by active transport, almost all fructose by facilitated, not by active or diffusion. Is that clear? By this way, the absorption of end products of digestion will take place. But in this list, I have not mentioned about the end product of lipid digestion, especially when I come to the mechanism. We know that the lipid digestion end products are fatty acid and glycerol. Its absorption occur only in the small intestine. But by which mechanism? Not by any of these mechanism. There is a one more mechanism which I have supposed to write here, but the same thing I will explain you. For the next 5 minutes, I am going to explain how fatty acid and glycerol are absorbed in your small intestine. As these fatty acid and glycerol are water insoluble, remember, I repeat, they are water insoluble, their absorption is not that easy. In small intestine, there are finger-like structures called what? Villi. Just go to the structure of villi. Villi made up of columnar epithelium, or they are called surface epithelium. They bear what? Microvilli. The microvilli give what kind of appearance? Brush border appearance, right? This is the villi. Throughout you can draw and complete it. Villi bear microvilli, which gives brush border appearance. Inside the villi there is a vessel called a lymph vessel, which is filled with a fluid called what? Lymph. And the lymph vessel present in the villi, it is called, what is the name? Lacteal. Okay, lymph vessel is called lacteal only inside the villi. Along with lymph vessel, inside your villi you will also find what? Blood vessel also. What is also present? Blood vessels are also present. Right, no? These are all what? Large number of blood capillaries can be seen, in which you will find the blood, which is flowing constantly into it. Okay, this is the structure of villi, which you already know. Remember, the carbohydrate, protein, nucleic acid, digestion end products are water soluble, hence they can be absorbed by diffusion, active transport or facilitated transport. But the problem is the fatty acid and glycerol are water insoluble. That's why in your small intestine, what happens is the fatty acid and glycerol, they are first get covered by bile salts. Yes, few minutes back in your small intestine, hope you remember bile salt, the same bile salt few minutes back helped in the process of emulsification, right? What is emulsification? Converting large fat into small fat. The smaller fat by pancreatic lipase converted to fatty acid and glycerol. Once fatty acid and glycerol are formed, the same bile salt cover them again and form a structure. Can you see this entire structure? Fatty acid, glycerol coated by bile salt. This structure is called what? Micelles. M-I-C-E-L-L-E-S. 1 mark question. What are micelles? Write down. Fatty acid, glycerol coated by bile salt is called micelle. This micelle can be easily absorbed inside the columnar epithelium of the villi. It entered inside now. Direct fatty acid glycerol cannot be absorbed because it is water insoluble. Once they are covered by bile salt, it become a form something which is water soluble. Now it enter inside the which one? Enter inside the villi or the columnar epithelium. Once micelles enter inside, what happens is from this coat bile salts are removed. What is removed? Bile salts are removed. They are now get covered by a coat of proteins. At the center, fatty acid glycerol. From where bile salts are removed, they are shed and now coated by a layer of protein. This entire structure, what you can see here, it is called what? It is called chylomicrons. 1 mark question. What are chylomicrons? Fatty acid, glycerol coated by proteins are called chylomicrons. Finally, these chylomicrons are absorbed to blood vessel or lymph vessel, not to blood. They are absorbed to lymph vessel called lacteal. In the lacteal, you will find large number of what? I am changing the color. Try to understand. These are all what? Chylomicrons. The chylomicrons, which are just now absorbed, they appear milky inside the lacteal of the villi, and the condition is called what? Chyle. I repeat, what is chyle? Milky, the chylomicrons in the lacteal of the villi appear milky and is called chyle. Guys, what do you mean by chyme? Have you studied this? This I told you in the stomach. In the stomach, bolus mixes with gastric juice and form an acidic liquid called chyme in the stomach. Adre, what is chyle? Milky chylomicrons present in the lacteal are called chyle. This is how the water insoluble, which one? Fatty acid, glycerol are absorbed. It itself a 3-mark question. Hege baritiri explanation note madkolboda. As fatty acid, glycerol are water insoluble, okay, in the intestine, small intestine, they get coated by bile salts and form micelles. Okay, underline. 1-mark question. What are micelles? Fatty acid, glycerol coated by bile salt. Micelles are absorbed inside the columnar epithelium of the villi, where the bile salts are removed. Next line. Fatty acid, glycerol now covered by a layer of special proteins and form chylomicron. 1-mark question. What are chylomicron? Fatty acid, glycerol coated by protein are called chylomicrons. Chylomicrons are absorbed to lymph vessel called lacteal, where chylomicrons appear milky and the condition is called chyle. 1-mark question. What are chyle? Milky chylomicrons present in the lacteal of the villi is called chyle. Later, the proteins they also removed in the lacteal, that fatty acid, later fatty acid and glycerol, last line, later they are released to blood. What is your last line? From lacteal, the fatty acid and glycerol are then released to where only again? Blood. Remember, chylomicrons cannot be directly added to blood. They are first added to lacteal. From lacteal, proteins are removed. The free fatty acid and glycerol later again released back to where itself? Blood itself. This is how the lipid digestion or the digestion of end products of the food absorption will takes place. Is that clear? So after that we are left with the next one. What is that? Assimilation. What is assimilation? The process of utilization of end products of digestion. Utilization of end products of what? Digestion by cells and tissues of the body is called assimilation. 1-mark question. The students, this water, simple sugar, glucose, fructose, fatty acid, glycerol, finally they reach where only? Blood. Through blood, the glucose, amino acid, fatty acid are supplied to various cells and tissues of the body. Now the glucose is used by my cell, amino acid used by my cell, fatty acid used by my cell. I repeat, the process of utilization of end products of digestion by cells and tissues. Cells ಇದನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ಸಿಗೆ we call it as what? Assimilation. Finally, the end products reach cell. Meanwhile, in the large intestine, you will find some undigested. What food we have consumed, in that everything is not converted to an end product. Some part of the food remain undigested. That undigested food, which is later stored where? In the large intestine. The undigested food, or the waste we call it as, right? Undigested waste, or it can be called what? Feces, fecal matter, athava stool anta ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕರಿತೇವೆ. The undigested waste or the feces or the stool is stored in the large intestine. When this large intestine having this waste, when it reaches the last part called rectum. What is the last part of the large intestine? Rectum. Rectum gets irritated. Large intestine ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋದ ಹಾಗೆ the mucous membrane which is there ಅಲ್ವಾ, outermost serosa, muscularis, submucosa, mucosa, the innermost mucosa ಏನು ಇದೆ, mucosa gets some irritation. Because of the irritation, the message goes to where? Brain. Okay, and in the brain, both by voluntarily and involuntarily, right, a thought will be developed in the brain that I want to eliminate the undigested waste. Process of elimination of undigested waste through anus is called defecation. The irritation caused by the fecal matter in the which part? Rectum sends a message to the brain. From involuntary centers of the brain, a message will come back. From which center? Involuntary center, that trigger the opening of internal anal sphincter. Whereas a message coming from voluntary center, when a person decides, yes, I want to pass the waste now, that time external anal sphincter will open. Anus is guarded by how many sphincter? 2. Internal anal sphincter, external anal sphincter. Okay, both should open for the passage of this waste. Remember that internal anal sphincter is made up of smooth muscle, hence message from involuntary centers of the brain will open it. When a person voluntarily, consciously decides to pass this waste, okay, by the conscious effort or the conscious impulse or the voluntary impulses coming from the brain help in opening external anal sphincter, because it is made up of skeletal muscle. When both these sphincter open, the waste will be eliminated out by the process called what? Defecation. This is all about the major steps involved in digestion and absorption.